guys, welcome to the Yellow Brick Road, a journey towards dreams. This week is part 1, writing for film.
How does one go about writing a story for a film?
Well, there are a number of ways to do this, but how mainstream movies do it is they'll write a story as if writing a story for a book, and then they'll have a screenplay writer come along and take that story and write it into a screenplay story.
What is a screenplay?
A screenplay, if you were to look it up on Google, the definition it would give is that it's a script that gives actors instructions and scene directions. But you could really look at the whole writing process in 3 points: story, screenplay, and script, which all 3 of them working closely together. Now, how I went about writing my story was I combined the story and screenplay together while I wrote the script separately. And I actually have an example of my story and screenplay that I'll share with you. And this is a passage from the beginning of part 2 of Vivid. Dylan says, and Dylan is the main character that I gave myself, the lead character, just because it was easy. Dylan says, I need to get all the information I can because if my grandfather and father died on their birthdays, then I only have today and tomorrow. I need to go talk to my grandmother. She hugs him in tears and tells him she loves him. He tells her he loves her and walks out of the house. Scene cuts and opens the scene showing his car parked at his grandmother's house. Scene cuts to inside where they are sitting down. Dylan tells her about all the weird things going on and how his mother told him about how there was a possible curse and that he wants his grandmother to start from the beginning and tell him everything. So you can see there within that one passage there was the 3 different parts of writing a story. You had the script with Dylan says, I need to get all the information I can because, and then you have the story with she hugs him in tears and tells him she loves him. He tells her he loves her and walks out of the house, giving details within the story. And then there you have the scene directions, which says scene cuts and opens the scene showing his car parked in his grandmother's house. And so you have, all 3 parts of writing a story within how I wrote the story. And then I took those lines within this story and screenplay and wrote the scripts for each character.
Could you give us an example of a script?
Yeah, sure. I have the example here from, this is a passage from the last scene in part 3 of Vivid, which has the characters, my character and the main antagonist, the demon character, Azazel. And it goes like this. Azazel, with arms open, sword in hand. Dylan, so good to see you. Dylan, looking around for his gun, floor is hot. Azazel, it isn't here, Dylan, your gun. I don't allow those kinds of things here in my home. Dylan, you're him, aren't you? Getting up off the floor is hot. The demon that cursed my family. Azazel smiles. I have been watching you very closely. I know you have no children, he laughs. This is the end of the line. And so you can see how that was structured. It's kind of like how this post is structured with question and answer. One person says one thing, then the other person says another thing in response to each other.
So you've told us how you wrote your story. Can you tell us in other ways that people can write their stories? And could you talk a little bit about the process going from an idea to writing?
Yeah, well, it's going to be different for everyone, but for me, I visualize everything in my head. And so when I had this idea for this film, I immediately started visualizing characters, scenes, how scenes connect, the camera movements, actors' movements, and so I really had the bulk of the story already in my head. I just had to take that and put it on paper so that I wouldn't forget anything. But see, big movies will have story writers who write the story, and then they'll have people who write screenplay, and people who write scripts, and people who figure out the scenes. But since I had to wear all the hats, then I just combined the story and screenplay together because that's what worked for me. Other people can write their story as if writing a book, and then take the lines within that story and write descriptions and camera movements and everything else about each of those lines within the story. And then later on, you can take the lines that the characters say and write a script separately for each of those characters.
Is there anything else that new filmmakers should know about writing?
Well, I would say when you're starting out, when you're just working with a low-budget film, don't waste your time with strenuous details within the story. Because if you're the only one who's going to be reading it, or very few people are going to be reading it, and you're going to be involved with every step of the process, if you're going to be wearing all the hats, then that stuff doesn't matter. That detail doesn't matter. And don't waste your time with spelling or grammatical errors, because again, if you're the only one reading it, or very few people are going to be reading it, that stuff doesn't matter.
Thanks for giving your advice and experience on writing a film.
Hey guys, stay tuned for next week where Bill and I will be talking about producing. And please leave your comments and questions below. If there was something you liked, something you didn't like, questions, or maybe something you disagreed with, or if you have ideas of your own, please list them below. Let new filmmakers not only learn from me, but learn from you. And hey, maybe there'll be something that I learned from you as well. Thank you for watching.